Hello, everyone. Let's uh, let's take a walk. What does this question mark do? Oh, welcome. Oh, this is my new farm. Well, that's exciting. I guess this is my farmhouse. Anyway, I guess it's become pretty apparent to everyone by now, including myself, that I am pathologically incapable of just making a video and starting a game. I have to talk about something for at least an hour or two first. Well, if you want to see a video of me playing a game, um, I'm afraid this is probably the wrong video. You should probably just stop this video now because I won't be playing a game in this video, or I guess I will be playing a game. That's this game, Farming Simulator. But as usual, the game just serves as a backdrop for me talking about something so that there isn't just a blank screen and my voice for 2 hours, because I don't really like appearing on screen. And I'm not against it, but I don't want to just make a vlog where I'm on the camera. I'd rather do something like this. I don't know what this vehicle is. I think this is a harvester. I'm pretty sure that's a combine harvester. Anyway, I don't want to become another one of those people who just mostly makes videos of them ranting about something or other. But it seems that it is my destiny to become so. One thing that happened with PewDiePie recently is that he seems to have largely stopped playing games. Now he mostly just kind of sits in front of the camera and complains about stuff, usually how crap YouTube is. And a lot of people have complained, why don't you play games anymore, PewDiePie? Well, I don't want to be PewDiePie, and yet it seems I'm becoming him. Because I just make dumb videos like this where I just talk about stuff instead of making videos of me playing games, which is what I should be doing. Anyway, if you're interested in me expressing my personal opinions about stuff relating to computer games, then that's what this video is, and so you are certainly welcome to stick around for what's to come. I had some thoughts. I've been doing a lot of thinking, as I tend to do, and I came to some realizations, I guess, about computer games in general and how I play games, especially adventure games. And I wanted to say some stuff about that in case any of you folks, my wonderful subscribers, would be interested. I know you'd probably be more interested in me playing the game, but no, instead I'm doing this. So, I apologize to, first of all, I guess I should apologize, yeah, to everybody who would like to see more videos of me playing games. I know I haven't made really a proper video in a while. There are a few different reasons for that. One is obviously just the usual real life stuff. My real life has been pretty busy, and there's been this and that going wrong. I haven't really been having a very good 2017 for various reasons, which I don't want to. Oh, I think that symbol means I can buy this field. Yeah, press R to purchase field. Yeah, things haven't been going that great for me lately, but that's all personal stuff, which I don't want to talk about here and now. But what I do want to talk about is adventure games. I guess that most of you folks who watch my channel, who've been watching my channel for a while, probably mostly associate me with Sierra adventure games. Obviously, I play other types of DOS games and even some games that are not DOS games, but I guess the single type of game that I'm. Oh, there's a road. Let's go to the road and get run over by a vehicle. I guess the single type of game that most people identify me with, and indeed that I myself identify myself with, is the Sierra adventure game, the sort of archetypical late 80s to early 1990s third person Sierra style adventure game. And I realize that most of you probably know this if you've been watching my channel for a long time now. So I wanted to kind of pose a question, a very open question, first of all. Why do people play adventure games? and obviously the answer will be different for different people. But I'll give my answer, which I think is probably the same as most people's answer, maybe even most people's answer. Um, did I say most people twice? I meant to say the first time many people, and then I meant to say most people the second time, but I'm an idiot. I don't know how to speak properly. Um, now there are no vehicles. I saw vehicles on this road before, but now that I'm here, there's nobody driving around. Where are all the cars? Come on. Oh, maybe we just stand. Did I just hear an airplane going by? Well, maybe we just stand here for a while. A vehicle will come and say hello to us. Anyway. So, why do I play adventure games? Well, I personally generally play adventure games because I love to explore environments. I like to be able to look at things, to interact with things, and I love to discover things which are hidden somehow, or at least not obvious about the environment that the game is set in. And historically, of course, other genres of games like action games or RPGs were kind of lacking in this area because they were mostly about combat and character stats and stuff like that. They didn't give you much ability to really examine the environment you were in. You couldn't get descriptions about the objects in a room. You couldn't try to interact with things except using really the most basic set of verbs, usually things like fight or cast spell on or something like that, because again, the focus was usually combat. Oh, this car has politely stopped for us just before running us over. Is there no... Was there no driver of that vehicle, or did I just miss it? Hold on, let me check. This is a... Oh no, there is a driver in the car. The driver just blends in very well with the seat. This is a... Oh, this car is from Czechia. I recognize that red and green sticker on the license plate there, and it actually pretty clearly says CZ or clear Z, CZ on the left, which is abbreviation for the Czech Republic. Anyway, I always get sidetracked and then I forget what I was talking about. What a shame. Yes, exploring environments. I was talking about exploring environments in adventure games. So, adventure games are really mostly about exploration. You know, other types of games I was saying, they... where's this car from? This car doesn't seem to have a country code. It has that little... It seems to have that little yellow circle of stars, which is the symbol of the European Union, but it has no country code on it, so I actually don't recognize what country this vehicle is supposed to be from. I guess we should let them get on their way, though. They probably have some destination that they want to get to. So yeah, I was saying other types of games are mostly about fighting. You know, they either emphasized quick reflexes or something like that, but they weren't really that much about exploring and interacting with your environment in a variety of ways. Whereas adventure games gave you a whole vocabulary of verbs that you could use to interact with the world around you. Oh, what's this? What's this car? I'm focusing on the cars too much. I should probably get away from the road because I live in Europe now and I have this weird fascination with looking at license plates, and I always get this sort of bizarre kind of interest when I see a car from another country and say, "Oh, hey, that car is from France. That car's from Italy. That car's here from Poland," and I just want to say, "Hello, Polish friends or Italian friends or whatever. Welcome to a different country. I hope that you enjoy your stay here and don't get into a traffic accident with your lovely car there." Anyway, so yeah, adventure games are about exploration, and they have usually, you know, a whole set of verbs that you can use. If you have a point and click adventure, then each icon that you can click on basically corresponds to a verb, and if you have a game with a parser, then, well, hey, you can type in any verb you can think of, and hopefully the game has a large enough vocabulary that it recognizes the verbs that you're using. Ooh, can I catch up with this car? Wait, hold on. Oh yeah, shift does make you move faster, just like in a first-person shooter. Let's see. Let's take a look at this car. What's the deal with this? Oh, this is the same. Is this the same car that I saw before? Did it just go in a big loop? Or is this a different car that just uses the same model? And I think we've seen this car too. Alright, whatever. I need to get away from the road and get back into the fields, because here in the fields there'll be less to distract me, hopefully. um, so yeah, adventure games, interaction with the environment, with the stuff and the characters and things in the game's environment. But what else goes on in an adventure game? The whole game isn't just random interactions with the environment. There's usually a goal of some kind, right? And that's, of course, where the game part comes in. The game part of adventure games is usually puzzle solving. There are some puzzles that you have to solve, and that usually requires you to explore the game's environment a bit and find some creative or clever way to get around an obstacle or whatever. And besides the puzzle solving, there's also usually an underlying story. Pretty much every adventure game has a plot, some kind of story which defines the setting, the setting of the game and the scope of that of the game's environment and what happens within the game. Otherwise, there wouldn't be much point to it. I mean, the whole point of most games is that there's some kind of story which justifies it, right? And of course, there are games which have no plot. The original Colossal Cave text adventure was basically just a treasure hunt. You had to find a bunch of treasures and collect them, but there was no excuse me. But there's no real underlying story to that game. There's nothing about a king dying or a janitor in space or some guy who wants to be a pirate or something like that. Or a tentacle taking over the world. It was just an environment. It was just an environment that you would walk around, but there wasn't really any. I can't seem to. I'm trying to get up this. Oh, I forgot to jump. Spacebar jumps. Duh. Excuse me. I haven't actually played this game for a while, so I'm a little bit forgotten some of the details about it. So yeah, not every adventure game has a story, obviously. And I think a good example of a genre that sort of has succeeded, that's perhaps representative of that, is the escape the room type of game. There was a while when there was this whole fad of, or this trend of escape the room type games, which obviously usually don't have much in the way of a story. There's just, you're in a room, you have to get out, but there's no plot to explain why you're in the room or how you got there in the first place or who your character is supposed to be or what's going on. It's just escape the room. But okay, let's suppose that we're talking about a fairly normal, fairly typical sort of adventure game, and then the game consists of those things I mentioned. And I actually think that that's those three things are sort of what define an adventure game. And I think that the most effective, the most successful, the best adventure games work well because they successfully blend these three things together. They have a good mix of exploration of your environment and puzzle solving and a good story that frames the whole set of interactions and events. Yeah, the game is clearly recycling its models for these cars, but I actually don't know if this is the same car, if we're just seeing randomly generated cars that... Hello, sir. Would you like to talk about adventure games? He doesn't seem very interested. Sir, do you have a moment to talk about adventure games? Have you accepted adventure games as your personal genre and wow. Something very special when somebody walks through you like that, isn't it? Sir, hello, sir. You look... oh, I was going to say, I thought this was the same character model, but it's actually not. I thought it was just wearing different clothes, but no, this is actually a different looking guy. And yeah, okay. These gentlemen don't want to talk about adventure games. They don't want to hear me tell them of the adventure game story. They want to go about their business. Excuse me, I apologize. I seem to have eaten something in my life. So, okay. So yeah, I was saying, I think the very best... Can I actually jump on these things and get onto the roof of this building? I know, I'm sorry it's very frustrating for you folks because I just started saying something and then I'm like, oh, can I jump on this? Can I get on the roof of the building? Can I go up there? This is pretty exciting. Oh, I think I can. I think I'm just not For some reason, the mouse control seems to be a bit. Oh, yep, here we go. Now we're on the roof of this building and looking inside and seeing all the thrilling things that are inside. This was definitely worth trying to jump up that that thingy. Excuse me, boy. I should not make videos after I've eaten in the same day. Oh, there's another. Oh wait, these two women are identical. I think that woman across the street is identical to this one. Hello, lady. You certainly look like a woman who would like to talk about adventure games. Do you have a moment to stop and talk about adventure games? No? I'm going to stay right here and stay just like one step in front of you until you agree to talk about adventure games. I have many wonderful things to say about adventure games to you, madame. If you would only it's very rude of you to continue on like the way you're doing. You really, it would be very polite of you to just stop for a moment and speak with me. I'm only asking for a moment of your time. I'm not really asking for much more than that. So, I wonder, are these real brand names? These things on these flags, are these real brand names of actual farming equipment? Did they actually sponsor the game, or did the game developers pay to be allowed to use real brand names in the game, or are these just made-up brands? I actually don't know. Ah, that's nice. A lovely little town with these sort of half-timbered houses that are kind of stereotypical German-looking houses. I guess this game is actually German. I didn't really think about it when I was planning the video, but I guess this game actually is German. I think it's made by a German company. That's not why I'm playing, though. It's just happened that way. This is a very nice little town, though. Looks like a very classical, sort of very typical little old German town, which retains its medieval architecture. All these wonderful little houses with that distinctive sort of black wooden frame and then white painted walls that kind of defines so many. Anyway, yes, as I was saying. So yeah, King's Quest VI was. I was going to say King's Quest VI. I think is still one of the best adventure games ever made. Oh, I really like these types of doors. I love these doors that look kind of like a big archway, and you know, you can kind of like when you open the doors and you're walking through this big gateway, and it's like in medieval times when you had those archways that horses and carriages would pass through. So yeah, I was gonna talk about King's Quest VI. I really think that King's Quest VI is one of the best adventure games of all time, still today even. And I think the reason for that is because it brings all these things together. It has a lot of very original and very creative sort of environments. The environments are not just derivative of stuff that you see in other games. It actually, a lot of the environments are pretty original. And the puzzles in the game are usually fairly reasonable. I mean, some of them, obviously some are easier than others, but the puzzles are not too obscure to figure out for the most part. And it is a fairly meaningful storyline, which actually develops as you play throughout the game. But the problem, of course, is that not every adventure game combines those three elements very well. And in fact, some people might say that some of those things are what killed adventure gaming. Already in the year 2000, gaming website Old Man Murray ran an article called Death of Adventure Games, which claims that, and I quote, adventure games committed suicide. And the article claims that's because of the increasingly ridiculous puzzles they contain. The article cites an especially ridiculous puzzle from a Gabriel Knight game. I believe it was from Gabriel Knight 3. But okay, if you've played a lot of adventure games, then you probably can think of some ridiculous puzzles yourself. You've probably played games with puzzles which have solutions that you know no reasonable person would ever be likely to have thought of. So basically, the puzzle solving in adventure games became a problem, and puzzle solving was the one thing which turned adventure games into games, because a game without any challenges isn't really a game. And I have to admit, I didn't like that Old Man Murray article when it was first published, because you know I wanted to defend adventure games because I felt like it wasn't fair to attack them in that way. But if I look back on it now, I have to admit that the article had a point. There's some truth to what it says. Toward the end of the 1990s, puzzles and adventure games were becoming kind of ridiculous, and they were, in many cases, they were a detriment rather than an asset to the game. And players were getting tired, I think, of just these ridiculous puzzles with solutions that nobody would ever think of. Puzzles and adventure games had stopped being um, the point of the game, and they were actually kind of getting in the way of the game. And the puzzles were preventing people from playing and enjoying the game. Obviously, that's no good. So, at around the same time, though, I think also in the year 2000, or very close to it, The Longest Journey, the original Longest Journey game, came out. And I'm sorry to say, I'll just be honest with my opinion. That game was all kinds of awful. And I don't mean to be too cruel because you folks know that I love adventure games, of course, but I played The Longest Journey and I was just really bowled over by how much talking there was in some parts of the game. There were parts in the original Longest Journey where I just gave up and stopped listening to what people were saying because they would just go on for pages and pages giving some kind of ridiculously huge expository about something which I really didn't care about. There's a difference between a good story and a big story, and a lot of people don't seem to know what it is. And The Longest Journey, it was a pretty aptly named game because it was insanely, like stupidly long. Could, this is wonderful. I mean, you have a nice little sit here, two little picnic benches. Just sit here and get a nice little view over the town, and have your lunch here. Just kind of have some sandwiches and crackers and whatever, and drink your beer and look at the town and eat some of these mushrooms and die of poisoning or have a huge trip or something. Um, so yeah, I like these types of benches that are carved out of logs. They look very rustic. I'm sorry, I'm just having. Oh, what's this? Oh, there's a horseshoe sitting on the ground. Yes, you've picked up a horseshoe. There are 99 more horseshoes hidden in the game. Who knows? Finding them might bring you luck. There's some kind of bonus that you can get in this game, I think, if you collect all 99 horseshoes in the game. I actually did that once. Because well, at that time I was unemployed, and so I had time for such things. Anyway, yeah. So yeah, I was talking about The Longest Journey, and again, I'm really sorry to say bad things about the game because I'm sure that many of you folks really liked that game and very much enjoyed it, and so I hate to say bad things about something that some people probably really liked, but I just really, I just couldn't stand it. I, I don't even know how many times I reached a point where I just said, "Can these characters please stop talking so I can get on with the game?" But the thing is, you can't ignore that kind of dialogue in a game like that because you know how adventure games are. Chances are good that somewhere in those 10,000 centuries of dialogue, there's probably one line which is a clue to some puzzle which you'll have to solve later and which you'll never be able to solve if you don't remember that tiny detail from a conversation which you already forgot before it even finished. And I'm willing to say or accept that maybe it's a problem with me and not a problem that most people have. Maybe most people don't have this problem since, like I said, a lot of people seem to have really enjoyed The Longest Journey. But okay, for me personally, at least, if I may speak for myself and not for others, the story element of adventure games, which of course should be a crucial part of the game, was also starting to be a problem because games started off with stuff like, okay, King's Quest One, you get like one page of plot if you go into the castle and talk to King Edward, and that's it. That's the plot for the rest of the game. And I'm not saying that's not necessarily the ideal which other games should follow. It's not like every game has to be that way. But when I play a game, I'd like to do something. I'd like to be able to interact with the game. If I just want to sit and watch a giant conversation, this giant exposition, I can just watch. I can watch a movie for that. If I want a huge story, I can read a book. I mean, there are plenty of fantasy novels which are like 1,000 pages long. I can easily get one of those from a store for $5 and read that. Or again, watch a movie or something like that. I don't need that from a game. When I play a game, I'd like it to be a little more interactive than that. Oh wow, this is a nice view from up here. I'm liking this. Kind of want to just stand here for a moment and just enjoy the setting here. But okay, so from what I'm saying, like I said, there are three things which come together and form sort of the core and the heart and soul of an adventure game, right? You have the environment and exploration that goes into being able to walk around and interact with that environment. So you have the environment, you have the storyline, and then you have the puzzles. But it was reaching the point where both the puzzles and the storyline, the plot of the game, were becoming problematic. They were just becoming too ridiculous, too convoluted, and they were, in my opinion at least, they were kind of, again, getting in the way of the game rather than helping it to be a better game. So what do you have left in an adventure game when you take away the puzzles and the story? What's left? Mostly just the exploration and the environment, right? Let me now, going off in a bit of a different tangent or whatever you want to call it. What's another well-known game that came out in the year 2000? Deus Ex. Now, I'll go ahead and admit up front, I'm one of those people who absolutely loves Deus Ex. Best game ever, yes. I say I'm sorry because I'm sure that somewhere out there are a relatively small group of people who really don't like Deus Ex at all, and they're probably still confused why so many people liked it, and they're wondering where's this great Deus Ex game that people are talking about, and they're probably extremely tired of constantly hearing everyone say that it's the best game ever. So I understand your pain, you people who don't like Deus Ex. I know how you feel. I don't like Game of Thrones either. But okay, for people who know me through my videos, it might surprise you that that I like Deus Ex so much, because it's obviously very different from a Sierra Adventure. It might seem almost the opposite. I mean, Sierra Adventures are slow-paced, kind of third-person games, which emphasize adventure elements, like again, like puzzle solving and environmental interaction. And Deus Ex is a first-person shooter, which emphasizes action. And I realize that might be kind of a superficial interpretation of Deus Ex. I know some people insist that Deus Ex is an RPG. I don't agree with that. I think it really is at its heart a first-person shooter. A first-person shooter with RPG elements. And I've always been of that opinion. Deus Ex is first and foremost a first-person shooter. And yes, it has elements of other games as well. But what I really liked about Deus Ex was how fully realized the game's environment was. You could interact with most of the objects in the game. You could flip light switches on and off and pick up things off tables and throw them around. And I know a lot of people will say, well, what's the point? Why even bother putting that in the game? Why bother making a game where you can flip light switches and throw stuff, like throw completely random objects around, when it has no bearing whatsoever on the game? But I say the point is to make an environment, a fully realized environment that you can interact with. Deus Ex is a great game partly because it gives you so many things to interact with. In so many places throughout the game, you find little things that you can interact with. You know, there are all those books and papers and newspapers and things that you can read, or switches or buttons that you can push to make stuff happen. Again, it's a first-person shooter for the most part, but it has so much environmental interaction and exploration that it really has a lot of the important elements of an adventure game in it. It is partly an adventure game, I think, in how it plays. When you're not fighting, when you're not in a shootout with some enemies, it really often starts to feel kind of like an adventure game. And looking back, I think Deus Ex was kind of a sign of the times because I think a year or two after the first Deus Ex came out, the first Siberia game came out. You know, that game with, I believe Kate Walker was her name, if I remember correctly. It's a, you know, it's an adventure game. Siberia was probably the very last adventure game to get a well publicized release, and which you could buy in a box at your local game store. Now, I don't want to say too many bad things about Siberia because it's not a bad game, and it is, in my opinion, a fairly pleasant and enjoyable little adventure game. But let's be honest. If you've played the game, you probably know there really isn't much to it. It doesn't have a lot of plot development, and most of the environments are pretty sparse in terms of what you can do. They don't have a lot of things that you can interact with. The graphics look nice, but that means the game is basically just an art showcase with, again, fairly minimal interaction that you can do. You just kind of move around and look at the environments. And again, it's close to being non-interactive. And in that sense, it kind of fails in my mind at being a proper adventure game. It's kind of sad when a first-person shooter like Deus Ex actually ends up being a better adventure game than a game that's supposed to be a pure-breed adventure game. And again, I'm not knocking on Siberia. I don't think it's a bad game. I just somehow I like how you can jump up almost sheer mountain or hill faces. Don't think it quite works that way in real life. I don't think you can climb better by jumping, but it works in this game, so why not? I like these little rocks here. Just gonna stand here and oh hey, there's another horseshoe. The game sort of highlights them as you're walking by. There we go. Horseshoe +1. Yes, horseshoe +1. So yeah, Siberia was, like I said, it was probably the last adventure game ever released that that you could buy in your local store. But I should say, of course, or again, it was the last game that both came in a boxed release and was widely publicized. But I guess I should admit that adventure games never really died. You sometimes hear people say that adventure games are dead and they don't get made anymore. That's not 100% true, of course. There are still today adventure games being made, which are pretty similar to the Sierra and LucasArts games from the 1980s and 1990s. It's just that the genre is so underexposed. It's so underrepresented in the gaming media that you don't hear about those games. You find those games sometimes in like the bargain section at Walmart selling for $5 or something like that. And it's kind of sad that the genre seems to have been reduced to that. But there are adventure games being made now which actually get quite a bit of media attention. And this is probably a good time to mention a little game called Thimbleweed Park. Most of you who watch my channel have probably already heard of this game. It has gotten a huge amount of media exposure, and that's not surprising. The very simple reason for that is it was written by Ron Gilbert, who of course is legendary for the Maniac Mansion games and the Monkey Island games. Now, I started playing Thimbleweed Park myself. I haven't finished it yet, but I probably will because it seems like a pretty nice game. But there's something about it that kind of bothers me, and it's hard for me to really articulate it clearly. And I'm kind of surprised to have such opinions because you folks know me. You folks who have been watching my channel know I'm probably the last person in the world to complain that a game is too old-fashioned, that it isn't somehow modern enough. But what bothers me about Thimbleweed Park is that it doesn't really seem to have moved on from the problems that adventure games had 20 years ago. It still depends way too much on contrived puzzles, which kind of detract from the game world more than adding to it. I mean, the environment in Thimbleweed Park is very nice. I like the game's graphic style. That's a this is a I think this is another Czech car. It actually doesn't have a country code on it, but I think this is also from the Czech Republic. That looks like a real model of car. I'm pretty sure that that is actually based on some real model of car. But anyway, I like the looks of Thimbleweed Park. I mean, it very obviously is made to look like an old LucasArts game. It doesn't even try to hide that. And it makes a lot of references to LucasArts games. And some people will say that the game is living too much in the past because it makes so many references and in-jokes to stuff from the past. And okay, I can understand that, but that's not really the problem. The problem for me is just that, again, the puzzles don't feel fun. Whenever the game throws a puzzle at you, it seems like a chore, like a waste of time, like I want to get on with the game, but I can't because I have to solve this puzzle first. There's some place that I want to explore, but I can't go there. You can't explore that place. You can't get to that part of the game until you get past this barrier that the game has somehow created for you. And you can't get past that barrier until you manage to guess what the... Oh, I heard a rooster. I think that's... Yeah, this is my farm over here. I guess there are animals here on the farm that we can see. Or at least there are roosters on the farm. So yeah, you have to guess the solution that the game designer was thinking of, and you have to try this and that. You basically have to click everything you can on everything else that you can click on until you magically find the solution. And then congratulations, you are so smart. You figured it out after endless... Oh yeah, I remember this. This is... there's this little barrier here to keep the chickens inside that coop, which is kind of silly because I'm pretty sure chickens could just... I mean, chickens are not especially athletic, and they can't really fly, but I think even chickens could get over that. But you can just walk right through it. Anyway, where are the... Oh, there we go. There's a chicken. Or is that a rooster? Are you a chicken or a rooster, sir? I think that's a rooster. I think chickens are usually not that colorful. And if that's you crowing, then I assume you're probably a rooster, since I don't think chickens crow like that. I guess I have no chickens. I guess I have to buy them. There's one rooster here, but I guess I have no chickens until I buy them, and then once you buy them, you can hear them clucking and pecking around. But currently I just have one rooster who is probably producing no eggs, since roosters do not produce eggs. Your Chicken Shack. As soon as you buy some chickens, they get delivered directly to the spot. Chickens lay eggs, which you can sell at the village or at the farm shop. Yeah, okay, I have to buy some chickens before we'll have them here, but anyway. Here we have some grain silos, which will dispense. If you drive a trailer under here, you can then dispense grains from these containers into the wagons and stuff. This is where you dump stuff in if you want to. After you've harvested grains, you can dump them into here, and this will sift them into the appropriate containers up there. Anyway, what was I talking about before? Yes, Thimbleweed Park. And I was saying it still has the same problems of games of old. It really just... the whole gameplay is basically just encountering a series of frustrating obstacles. And, well, okay, that's not true. I mean, there is exploration in the game as well. And the game's environments are nice. I mean, the game has good environments, but that's just walking around. The challenge of it comes from, from the usual guess the solution, kind of try to look inside the designer's head and kind of imagine what kind of crazy cockamamie solution they had dreamed up. So... It kind of bothers me. I don't really know how to say it in a way that's entirely that entirely captures how I feel, because again, I do like the game. I really like the game so much, and yet somehow there's something about it that just bothers me. And there are other adventure games coming out now as well of a similar style. First of all, let me quickly mention the new King's Quest, because I did make a video, I guess a year or two ago, announcing that they were making a new King's Quest game. Well, in the meantime, that game has come out, and maybe some people are wondering if I'll ever make a video about that new King's Quest. I'll just answer that right now and say no. I feel pretty sure that I will never make a video of that game. I have not even played the new King's Quest, and I have seen enough of it to feel pretty certain that that is a game that I will never play, that I will never want to play. No, no, thank you. Maybe someday I'll play it just to try it, but it it's not a priority for me, and I feel again quite certain that I will never make a never make a video of that game. But another game which came out just this month, and which I have been playing, is called Paradigm. And Paradigm is basically it's another game of the same genre. It's basically another point-and-click adventure game. You might have seen it. It's from an indie developer, but it's been getting a lot of attention because people like PewDiePie and Jacksepticeye have made videos about it, and a lot of people have said nice things about the game, and it's understandable why. It's a nice game. I like the game. Again, I like the look of it. It has this very nice. I do like the graphical style. It has this sort of very minimalist, kind of retro futuristic sort of graphical style, which I like a lot. The game is pretty funny. Many people have praised the game's sense of humor, and yeah, sometimes I think the humor is a bit contrived, but it's a funny game. It has a nice sense of humor. There are some moments where I laughed at it. Yeah, it's pretty funny. But again, when you start playing it, it's just another adventure game, and the puzzles still consist mostly of just collecting stuff in your inventory and just trying to click everything on everything else until you finally click on the right combination that unlocks the solution to some puzzle. And again, it's like, oh, congratulations, you're so clever. You finally figured out what the designer had expected you to do, and now you can proceed. And again, if you haven't seen Paradigm, if you've not played the game or haven't even seen the game, I encourage you to check it out. It is a good game. I like it. It's worth playing in my opinion. Wow, a river. That's well, okay. It's not. I guess it's not really much of a river. It seems a little bit. That's not bad. I think it's more than a creek. That's kind of a proper river. Of course, I walked through the river instead of going over the bridge because I'm a rebel. So yeah, if you haven't seen Paradigm, I encourage you to take a look at it. It's a nice adventure game, but again, it is still aggravating to me. The puzzles in the game still just really get in the way. Every time the game tells me that I can't do something until I solve this puzzle first, I get annoyed. And don't get me wrong, I'm glad that they made Thimbleweed Park. I'm glad that they made Paradigm. Can I walk into this? I don't think I can walk into this tunnel. I think this actually... I think this might be where the game map ends. Hold on, if you press escape, yeah, you can actually pull up a map here. Hold on, where am I? I think, yeah, here we go. So you press I, you get this little mini map. This is your PDA that comes up. You can press I to cycle through the screens like that. I think I'm next to field 28. I guess I'm there, like kind of in the lower middle of the screen. I was going to say I think this might be where the game's map ends, but no, I guess it just doesn't let you walk in there, but I guess you can still go up there and... Okay, anyway. Get rid of that. So yeah, I was saying, I'm glad they made these games. I'm really glad that they did make Thimbleweed Park and Paradigm. I'm glad that people still have this sort of respect for adventure games and that people are still inspired by adventure games. But if I speak for myself personally, I'm just kind of tired of how puzzles are structured in adventure games. And meanwhile, as I continue to play computer games, I've come to realize that in the last couple of years, some of the most enjoyable moments that I've had from playing games have come from games like this one, like this game that I'm playing now. Um, I mean, this is okay. This is Farming Simulator. The game is supposed to be about farming, and if you look at the map here, see all those numbered fields. Basically, the point is supposed to be that you buy those fields and you plant crops in them, and then you harvest them. I mean, you can do that, and I did that at first. I mean, I went through that process of plowing the fields and then planting seeds in them and then fertilizing them and then harvesting them, and that's fun the first couple of times you do it. But there's not much to it, and it kind of the thrill kind of wore off for me after a while. But what I really enjoy is just this wonderful experience of walking around this game's beautiful environment. It has so many great environments. It has, it has that river. It has all these nice hills and trees. It has those open fields, and then it has some very nice man-made structures like those houses we were looking at before. This what is this? Is this a rail depot? I guess. I spent hours and hours just walking around this game, and it was so nice. I mean, I just have been mostly ignoring the farming in Farming Simulator and just walking around this environment. And I love this. I mean, I really love the environment of this game. And like I was saying, I think some of my most enjoyable moments in games in the past few years have been from stuff like this. There is a somewhat nascent sort of genre of adventure games which many people call the walking simulator, in which you just walk around. And that's pretty much it. That's basically the whole game. A wonderful game which I personally enjoyed very much is Proteus, which is basically what walking on an uninhabited island would be like on an 8-bit system. Um, and other popular games in the genre include stuff like Dear Esther and Gone Home, and some people might say the Stanley Parable, but I don't consider Stanley Parable to be a walking simulator because it's mostly a game about listening to that narrator, and it's not so much about walking. But okay, I mean, but the point is, there are games like this in which the gameplay mostly just consists, again, of walking around. And this is becoming a significant genre in its own right. It actually, you can now, I think even on some stuff like Steam, you can actually, there's a category on Steam for walking simulators. But of course, the category is not really new. I mean, it has kind of been around for years. And if I come back to The Longest Journey, I talked about the first Longest Journey. Well, I also played the sequel to The Longest Journey, which is a game called Dreamfall. And those of you who have played Dreamfall probably remember it the way I did. The game has really gorgeous environments, and there are there are a lot of nice things that you can see. I mean, I had a great time just walking around them, but the game doesn't have many puzzles. It's mostly just walking around and looking at the nice graphics. And at the time, many people, including myself, kind of complained about the game and said, "This this is not a real adventure game. This is not proper. It does not have puzzles like an adventure game." Um, I even mentioned Dreamfall in an article that I wrote for Adventure Classic Gaming back in 2009, where I cited the game's lack of puzzles as a problem. But here's the thing, though. I'm going to be perfectly honest and just confess. I really enjoyed Dreamfall. Yeah, it doesn't have many puzzles, but when I look back on my time with it, I actually quite enjoyed it, and it was it was pleasant. It was pleasurable for me even without puzzles. I complained about it because, yeah, it wasn't like a Sierra game, but it doesn't have to be. It's not Thimbleweed Park. It doesn't try to emulate the style of those games, and it doesn't have to. If you're not expecting a game to be like a Sierra or LucasArts adventure, then playing Dreamfall can actually be a great experience. And speaking for myself, again, some of the most enjoyable moments I've had with games lately have been with games like that don't really require you to do anything except just just experience the game. They're more like, oh, I can jump over that fence. That's nice. they're more like experiences than real games. But there's nothing wrong with that. My I mean, again, talking about my real life, my real life is already stressful enough without games placing additional demands on me. When I come home after work, oh, is this the edge of the map? Looks like I can't go farther this way. Okay, this might be the edge of the map here. When I get home from work, I appreciate something that will help me relax and feel better, feel kind of at peace with the world. Uh, and that's games like this one, not something that just will create more problems for me and more stress and frustration for me. And one thing that I think is is true of me, and this is a really wild revelation for me. This is something that I never would have thought that I might have said about myself a few years ago. I think I'm not really a gamer. I love playing computer games, and I played pretty much every DOS game ever when I was growing up in the 1990s. But I never really played those games as games. I never played them to win. Some people really just they want to get good and they want to be a good gamer and they feel a sense of personal accomplishment when they beat a really difficult game. I'm not that kind of guy. I'm not the kind of person who feels good about myself for winning a game. I don't need my self-esteem to be bolstered by my being good at a game. My penis doesn't feel bigger when I get really good at some game that I'm playing, and that's just kind of how I am. I love playing games, and I always have played games for all my life. I've loved playing them, but not to win them or to finish them. And so, for someone like me, a so-called walking simulator like this, like what we're looking at now, is again, it's actually something very enjoyable for me. But the thing is, here's the problem. In terms of making videos, I think most of us would agree that this kind of game doesn't really make for much of a let's play. I guess there are people who make let's plays of these types of games, but most of them are German. For some reason, these types of games like Farming Simulator and Woodcutter Simulator and Street Sweeper Simulator and Garbage Truck Simulator, they appeal very much to German people. You can find a ton of German let's players making videos of these games in the German language. I mean, not just German people, like people doing it in the German language. Um, but not so much in English or in other languages. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not making fun of Germans. Some people make fun of Germans for liking these types of games, but I mean, hey, there's nothing wrong with that. It fits in with the German culture spectacularly. It's all Ordnung. Everything must be proper. The simulation must be managed properly. It has to work correctly, as it is not a proper simulation. Uh, but yeah, I mean, okay, I like those types of games too, but again, I don't think that it would be much fun as a let's play, and I really don't think. I think that most of you folks probably wouldn't want to see me doing let's plays of stuff like that, like a simulator of driving a street sweeper. I actually played Street Sweeper Simulator and I enjoyed it personally, but I'm probably not going to make a video out of it. Somehow I don't think that you folks really want to see videos like that. Uh, but yeah, and I don't want to make videos of stuff where I'm just walking around. Somehow I just first of all, I don't think that would be very interesting as a video, but secondly, also, I honestly think that games like that are better experienced on your own. You'd be getting a better experience. You really should play those games yourself because it's more immersive that way rather than just watching somebody play a game like this and then just talk about it. I mean, really, what would I say? There's a fence over there, and there's some trees there, and then here there's a couple of shipping containers and obviously some kind of warehouses or whatever. I mean, really, what would I say? This is something that a person should experience for themselves and not something that would work well as a Let's Play video. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just really think that that's the case. Um, I think one of the reasons why people like Let's Play videos is because they might not be good at games or don't have the time to play games. And speaking for myself, again, that's certainly one of the reasons why I watch Let's Play videos, because in many cases, if a game is really difficult and it would take like a super huge amount of time to try and try and try again to get through some difficult boss fight or something like that, I'd really rather just watch somebody play it and just see how it goes rather than spending hours trying to fight the boss. I'm not one of those people who really feels good about myself after doing something like that. If I have to spend 5 hours to beat a boss, I don't get a huge sense of accomplishment when I'm done. I don't think, wow, I'm cool now. I'm the man because I defeated that boss. I actually kind of feel a little bit. Um, I feel kind of bad actually. I kind of say, I could have probably done something better with those 5 hours than just try to defeat that boss fight over and over. So I like watching Let's Plays partly for that reason, because if the game is difficult, then it's easier and simpler just to watch somebody else play the game than for me to bumble around and continue failing at it time and time again. There's a little shed here, and there's a little fountain here. Wow, can I wash my hands in the fountain? This looks like it's probably a drinking trough for livestock or horses or something, except I don't see any animals around here. It's probably, what is this building, I wonder? Is this supposed to be a, I don't think this is a livestock. Oh, this is probably a parking area. I think this is for parking tractors and stuff. You park them here under this metal awning so they don't get rained on. I think that's the deal there. So yeah. Yeah, for someone like me who's bad at games, it's nice to be able to see how the game's story works, because some games which I will never finish because they're just very difficult and I don't have the skill or the time to finish them. But I'd still like to see how the story ends, and so it's nice for me to be able to see how the game's story unfolds and how the game ends through watching Let's Plays, watching someone else play the game, rather than having to devote huge amounts of time to playing it myself. And again, lately when I play games myself, mostly it's stuff like this. Mostly it's something kind of like this, just low stress, low impact, just something which really doesn't have a concrete goal to it, something which you don't need much skill to play, something we just kind of enjoy as a thing in itself. But that doesn't make for good videos. I just don't have much interest or energy or time right now to go and take on a bigger or more challenging game. And I don't want to make videos when I'm not feeling in the mood for it, because then the video won't be much fun, of course. I only make videos when I'm really enthusiastic about the game I'm playing, because otherwise it's not fun for me and it's not fun for you. Who wants to see somebody play a game when they don't like the game? It's just kind of a drag, kind of a bummer. So this is nice. Camper in a little sling chair. Is there somebody inside here? Can I knock on the door? Oh, is that a propane tank? Guess is there somebody inside? Don't know. I assume there should be somebody around, but anyway. So yeah, that's kind of why I haven't been making videos lately. I'm just kind of, again, I'm just kind of tired of adventure game puzzles in general. Not adventure games, but just adventure game puzzles. And what I think would be really good, okay, this will be perhaps controversial. If anybody thinks that I've become too modern after what I've said, this might convince you otherwise. What I think would be good would be if they would go back to putting parsers, text parsers, in adventure games. I never really did, I'll be honest, I really never did like the switch to point-and-click games. And when it first happened, it wasn't so bad at first. I mean, I do like King's Quest V and VI, even though they use point-and-click interfaces, because it was something new back then. But the real richness of an adventure game, the real depth of the game, to me, to my mind, was in the text parser, because with the text parser you can do so many more things. There's really such a limited set of things you can do in a game with just a handful of buttons that you can click on. Like, you know, typical adventure game has something like 4 or 5 buttons: walk to, look at, talk to, and then there's like one general button for interact with. So everything else you can do just kind of gets lumped into one cursor. That's kind of ridiculous. And this was already a concern 25 years ago when King's Quest V was coming out and adventure games stopped using parsers and started using mouse interfaces. Game designers were already saying, you know, this kind of takes away from the game. This restricts what we can do with the game because there are only so many verbs that exist in the game. And I honestly think that one of the problems with adventure games today is that developers have just kind of run out of ideas regarding what you can do with this point-and-click interface. And I'd really like to see them go back to parsers, because that would open up so many more possibilities for interaction with the environment. I mean, think about it. If I had a parser here, what could I do now? I mean, I could try to pick the leaves off this bush. I could try to, you know, look in the grass. I could try to dig something in the ground if I had a shovel. I could try to climb this tree, or I mean, I guess you could do all those things with a point and click interface, but you could do only the most obvious things. Like if I had a hand, you know, action cursor and clicked it on the tree, I guess the most obvious thing to do would be to climb the tree. But what if I wanted to do something else with the tree? What if I wanted to, I don't know, peel a piece of bark off the tree, or kiss the tree, or copulate with the tree, or something like that? I mean, unless you have icons for all those things in a point and click game, then you couldn't really do those things. You could do just like one thing with the tree, which I always thought was dumb. It's so limiting. It's just so restricting. I mean, why did they do it like that? But I realize that's probably not going to change, because I realize that the reality is that most gamers don't like parsers. I'm kind of in a minority. I've seen people comment on that before and say that I'm kind of almost an extremist in that regard. Like I'm a parser bigot. I like games with text parsers in them. I remember back when I was making videos of the Quest for Glory 2 remake, one of the developers of the game actually commented on one of the videos saying that they didn't put a text parser in the game because they didn't feel it would have been worth it for them. It would have been a lot more effort, because there is actually quite a bit of effort that goes into implementing a text parser in an adventure game. And they just didn't think it would be worth it to put that much work into a feature which, frankly, most players wouldn't have used. I can understand that. I mean, yeah, okay, it makes sense. But again, if you, I mean, like if I had a text parser here, I don't know. I feel like I could do more. Maybe I'm the problem. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe I have a wrong understanding. Maybe I've got the wrong idea about adventure games, but wow, this is nice. I like this. I guess this is well, this is obviously a loading dock, so boats come here, and then these cranes take stuff off the boats. I'm just going to take a little walk here by this canal for a while. But I guess I'm done. I guess that's pretty much most of what I wanted to say. I'm not saying that I won't make any more videos of adventure games or other types of games. I'm not at a good point in my life to be doing that right now. And I'm sorry to everyone for being absent for all this time. And I'd like to thank everyone for your support and encouragement over the years. Just like you folks, I'm still here. And I'm still hoping for great things from the future. Make Let's Playing great again. Yes. Yeah, at the moment I'm just in kind of a pause. And if things get better, I will be back. Till then, I wish all of you folks well. Wow, look at this. There's a... in the middle of all this... Oh, can I go swimming? Oh, I guess I can't go under the water. Okay. I just start... Yeah, I start swimming, but I can't actually dive under the water. But I mean, look at this. This is magnificent. We're on a little island here in the middle of the river, and we can walk up and look at this interesting rock formation and these trees and stuff. Some people probably just say too, why not just go outside for real then? Why not just go take a walk? Well, I'm too lazy for that. I do sometimes take walks outside, really. Like I really do sometimes do that. I'm just mostly too lazy. It's easier just to sit here and walk by pushing a key on the keyboard. Anyway. Thanks for watching, everyone. I guess I should close out here since I'm out of stuff to say, so... Until next time, folks, I wish you all well. Thanks again for watching, and... as I close out, standing dramatically on this top of this rock formation here, I say farewell to all of you, and yeah, we'll see each other again.